So, you know how Edward holds Bella on this virginal pedestal and refuses to have intimate relations with her, and the reasons that he gives is because it's about protecting her virtue, not his, and they have to be married despite the fact that she doesn't want to get married before they can do that because of her virtue, right? And it's a whole thing, like he protects that girl's purity more than he ever protected her as a person. Also, you know how Stephenie Meyer wrote a gender swap version of Twilight, and in her biggest mistake, because the biggest mistake was actually not the book itself is surprisingly cute, it has a lot of potential. Biggest mistake was opening the book with a long-winded foreword about how the whole point of this book was that the story would be the same if the genders were swapped, and it wasn't just because Bella was a girl, it was because Edward's a vampire, and it's not misogynistic. If she had never done that, this book would not catch half the heat that it does. Now, what if I told you that in this book, that and literally everything else that has to do with sexual relations is changed completely? Edith, Lady Edward, is not concerned with Beau's virtue at all. When Beau and Edith talk about sex, he brings it up and is like, since you have such heightened senses, I'm sure you can tell that I'm attracted to you, and I was just wondering, I don't want to be forward. And Edith is just like, oh, Beau, like, I would love to, but I could literally unalive you, so that cannot happen. So nothing about protecting Beau's purity, and also Edith doesn't propose. Edith doesn't force marriage onto Beau. It's discussed at the very end of the book when they're watching Beau's funeral, and it's actually Beau who sort of proposes to her, but it's not like a formal thing. She's like talking about, you know, the different outcomes, and he's like, wow, Edith, would you really marry me? And she's like, yeah, and Archie has seen it, I definitely will. And she's like, is that a proposal? And he's like, yeah, kind of. And she's like, okay, whenever you want. And that's it. And then what if I also told you that that scene in Port Angeles where Bella is about to get essayed by a group of men is completely replaced with something that really still doesn't make sense to me, where like a group of men and women mistake Beau, a gangly teenager, for a cop and are gonna unalive him or something, and Edith saves him. Yeah, don't ask me about it. You can ask, of course, I just don't have answers because I still don't really understand what happened there. And then what if I also told you that Rosalie, who was brutally beaten and essayed by her fiance, her gender-bent counterpart Royal was instead engaged to the daughter of some kind of mob boss, and she just watched and laughed while some like rival dude beat him to death before Lady Carlisle found him. Also, his whole thing was not about how he wanted to be a father, but about ambition. I'm telling you, if Stephenie had just not opened it that way, just say that you weren't gonna release Midnight Sun and you wanted to write a fanfic. It's fine. Cute even. And I mean that sincerely. Beau is my Shayla. That was mistake number one, and the mistake number two was ending it like that, not giving me the Beau and Julie friends to lovers werewolf girlfriend romance that I deserve. Beau was a victim. But anyway, like the point is, it did not